What's up, YouTube Gen X? Oh man, I'm still trying to knock the rust off. I've been trying to do this video for the last 2 days, and I fuck up around the 15-minute mark. And I like to do my videos in one take. You know, I don't do any editing or splicing. If I don't do it in one take, then hey, I don't do it. But let me get to the point. You can't talk about trying to build and gain power and economics and all the other keywords that we use and we throw around without truly understanding that your efforts are pointless if you're not passing it on to children, so your sons and daughters who want to grow up and be like you, who want to follow in your footsteps. So think about it. There's two parts. You have to have children, and your children have to grow up and want to be like you. You need both. Obviously, if you don't have any children, who are you passing on what you're building to? Who? You know, who's going to carry the torch? Who's really going to value it and run it and behold it in the way in which you see fit? Right? And then let's say you do have children, sons and daughters, especially sons. What does it matter if they don't want to follow in your footsteps? They want to go in a completely different direction. You know, no one is saying that they can't be their own man or their own woman, but just overall, they respect the direction that you and your wife have went, and they want to copy that. They want to adopt that. That is just as important as the actual building, the actual doing this and doing that and coming together. So you can't talk about one and act as if the other doesn't exist or as if it's just going to fall into place. I mean, really think about it. For the productive black men who actually care, I mean, look at what it is. I mean, think about just what's out there and the whole idea of actually finding a black chick who you feel, right, is the proper type that could actually give you the type of kids, obviously combined with your input as well, but to help produce the type of children that we need to have. I mean, really think about it. With all the fucked up mentalities and behaviors, think about how challenging that is. The sad part about it is I can walk into a room, let's say with 100 black women, and if I said, okay, I'm looking for a chick, you know, maybe to marry or to be with, maybe only 20 remain. So 80% are no good. But when I walk to that same room and I'm like, okay, I'm also looking for a chick that could give me the sons and daughters combined with what I have going on, right? The type of sons and daughters that we need, right? You know, she has the right mindset or whatever that's going to work as we try to raise them and put them in a position to where they want to copy us, they want to follow in our footsteps. That same 20 probably goes down to 5. You got chicks who don't want kids. You have chicks who already have kids. You have chicks who, because of their age, have placed themselves outside the whole I can really have a lot of kids. At the very least. I really mean this. Cats need to have 2 to 4 children. 3 to 4 being preferable. When you just look at it, unfortunately, a lot of it comes down to a numbers game. Don't talk about trying to do well. Don't talk about progressing if there's no kids. So just look at how challenging that is in itself. Damn, to find a suitable black chick, right? You know, smart, ambitious, has a lot going on, right? Who wants to and can actually give me 3 to 4 kids, barring any sort of, physical ailment, right? I know that we have people who can't have kids even though they want to, so I'm not, talking about you guys. But just the whole, I can have kids, right? I'm medically okay, but I just don't want to. Or I've just placed myself in a position where I can't. I mean, literally, I could never, ever, ever, ever take a chick seriously if I knew that the whole option of having 3 to 4 kids was off the table. No one is saying that that's going to happen, right? Different circumstances play out, but just the fact that we couldn't have the conversation, that's just not going to work. So just think about how difficult that is in itself. I mean, really, take a step back. Like I said before, I'm a pretty easygoing guy. You know, I can fit with a lot of different situations. You know, when it comes down to who you're with and getting on, just getting along and the whole day to day, this is the wife or, this is the girlfriend or whatever. But when it comes down to, okay, now we're talking about having children, that's when I'm really on some like, yo, nah, there has to be certain things that have to be there. That's when I don't budge. That's when I'm not flexible. Because I'd be damned if I'm on one page, but the wife's on a different page, and there's a whole lot of fucking confusions, and you're the bad guy. You're the bad guy in your kids' eyes or whatever. They side with mom, and we have to be on the same playing field as far as our mentality. So think about how challenging that is. I mean, it's almost depressing when you really think about it. Really. It's almost disgustingly sad when you really think about just the options when it comes out when it comes to looking at what's available when you're thinking about children who are suitable, right, to produce children for you that bear your last name, that carry your bloodline. That's when it really gets serious, at least for me. I don't know how y'all feel, but for me, that's when it's just like, God damn. That's just really bleak. Right? So that's one component. So then let's say you happen to find one, good head on our shoulders, driven, goal-oriented, good values, productive. She actually values motherhood. She looks at it as the ultimate title. She values the whole idea of, you at the head, and her being part of that team. She doesn't look at it as demeaning. She sees the value in it. It's just hard. But let's say you found that and you're having children. This is a whole other set of problems. Because like I said before, doesn't matter if you have kids, right? If your kids don't want to grow up and walk in your footsteps. For the most part. So now think about it. You're doing well. Your wife is doing well. How are you going to raise your kids? This is where, middle class black parenting and whatnot, this is when it really comes into play. Think about it. What's the conventional mode of thought, right, for well-to-do black parents? Okay, we're going to not allow our boys and girls to participate in mainstream black culture for obvious reasons. And we're going to live in a nice area where our kids have access to good schools and we're not worried about them being gunned down. Let's keep it real. Yes, we have, the Zimmermans of the world, but, right, if you're a parent, you still have more fear that your son or daughter, or primarily your son, is still going to be accidentally misidentified and shot. Right, a young gentleman that I've actually come to know who goes to my barbershop just got shot like last weekend on some mistaken identity. Right? So you'll take your chances. So you're going to be living in a probably predominantly white area. Once again, low crime, houses have good, value, great school districts or whatever. Right? That's typical black parenting. We're going to raise our kids in a great environment with good schools, and we're not going to allow them to participate in mainstream black culture. There's nothing wrong with that, but there's side effects. And I know Willie Pete has touched on this. Other brothers have touched on this as well, where by default, for a lot of middle-class black families and parents, you're almost pushing your son and daughter away from blackness. Number one, when you look at mainstream black culture, right, as flawed as it is, right, it is used as a tool to help folks define who they are, right? That's the main tool that we all use. So when you take that away, you have to replace that with something else. You have to help them understand their blackness. You have to help them appreciate their blackness, right? You do. And then you look at the whole idea of, okay, we're raising them in this predominantly non-black environment. Well, what does that mean? The second they hit puberty and they start looking at boys and girls, who are they going to like? They're not going to be black because there's no other black people there. So what are you going to tell how are you going to fault your son if all he's known is, white girls and Asian girls all through high school? Same thing with the daughter. And all of a sudden, they're supposed to get to college or get to early, let's not even talk about college, where more than likely, you're going to want them to go to, a high-ranking type school where, once again, there's probably going to be no other black people, right? But how are you going to have that and then expect them to become adults and all of a sudden want to date and marry somebody who looks just like them? They're not used to that. Black people are more foreign to them than non-black folks are. So for them, I've met cats like that. I've met black women where dating another black person to them was like interracially dating, like literally, based off of how they've grown up and how their parents have not allowed them to use mainstream black culture. Crazy. So from a parenting standpoint, look at how difficult it is. Not only do you have to stop your children from becoming a victim of black mainstream culture, but you have to give them something else. You have to give them alternate forms of what blackness means to be. Exposing them to different images of positive blackness, exposing them to different types of music, just different types of black history so that they get it. All that takes work because no one's going to do it for you. That takes a lot of time and energy to surround themselves, to surround your family, to surround your children with positive images and positive signifiers of blackness so they know who they are. Not easy. I was lucky enough with my parents being African, where it was kind of built in with the music, the food, and just being around my father. My father would know, other African men from different countries. So I got to see it. But, my parents didn't do anything special, right? But, those days are long gone. Even now, I'm nowhere near having children, but I'm already on some collecting and being aware of just positive forms of blackness that I would like to share with my children or just other younger black folks. So think about how challenging that is. And keep in mind, this whole time, this is just raising your family. No one's talking about the building part. You working with other black men or you doing your regular 9-to-5 type tip. This is this is going on simultaneously. Very challenging. And then you look at the final piece, okay, what else am I supposed to do? I'm giving my children positive images and positive inputs and signifiers of blackness, but they still need to be around other black boys and girls. So now you have another task of trying to find other black families to link up with. Your kids can hang out, so you can expose them to the right crowd. Because at the end of the day, sometimes you need to be around each other. I want my children to grow up in a diverse type of environment, but a predominantly white environment isn't diverse at all. Especially when there's no black folks there at all. So where's that going to come from? More work, more challenging to locate other black families, in which you can be friends with and your families can hang out with, their families, whatever. Quite frankly, that's what my parents did. All these people that I call uncles and aunts, all they are family friends. My quote-unquote cousins, all they are family friends that I grew up with. You know, families that my parents came to know. Literally came to know. I ran into this guy at the grocery store, right? Another professional black male or another professional African, right? Now we're family. And now we're friends. It's crazy when I talk to my dad or my real uncles just about, my pseudo uncles and my pseudo aunts and how they met. Oh yeah, I met so-and-so, in 1978, we were in college together and I was the only one who had a TV, right? And these are like family friends. These are people who were, at my first birthday party, people who were there, who were part of my life before I was even remembering my own life. That's hard. That takes time. That takes effort to find other black families to link up with. Once again, the whole time, you're still building. You're still trying to come together. You're still trying to build and do this and do that. So it's not easy at all. But quite frankly, I don't feel like that side of it is getting addressed enough. The stuff that is not necessarily involved with building. But to me, it makes no sense because what are you doing it for? Who are you going to pass it on to? And it's just not going to happen overnight. Unfortunately. Yes, other groups may have it easy where the women already get it. So they don't have to go far. So you have other groups where the men can literally just focus on doing them, getting their money together, doing this and doing that, and the women fall in line. I see this shit all the time. Especially with my Middle Eastern friends. Oh man, it's like a formula. Literally, it's like a formula for them. It's so simple. For us, it's not. The whole concept of going out into this market, this dating market or whatever the fuck you want to call it, and to find a black woman that can give you the kids that you want, like I said, super depressing. And then to look at actually having to raise those children so that they want to grow up and be like you and follow in your footsteps, just as hard. So it's just something to consider, for brothers out there, just to really put that on their plate and really just think about it, right? Because for me, I'm trying to move brothers away from the whole trying to play repair job or playing repairman. Everything that I just said has nothing to do with, quite frankly, helping out black folks who are struggling or black men and women who just have a fucked up mindset. I don't feel like there's anything you could do with those people. Hate me, I don't care. There's nothing you can do. Especially when you have folks who are talking about what we need to do, but they're not even addressing the people who need to help. It's a waste of time. I mean, think about it. Think about everything I just said, right? All the effort and time that it would take. But yet we still spend so much energy and time talking about black folks who just are far gone, and we're not even talking to them directly. We're talking about them miles and miles and miles away. That's why I'm off of it. I'm off of certain conversations. Not that they don't matter, but they're just not going to change. Literally, if you want some of these people to change, you have to kidnap them and brainwash them. You can't have fully grown adults who have been raised a certain way for the last 25, 30 years and expect them to change what they know by pointing out how it's flawed. All you're going to do is get into an argument, and they're going to walk away feeling how they feel, and you're going to feel how you feel. That's all that's going to happen. I mean, for me, it's like, do you really think you're going to get an unproductive brother to really say, I get what you're saying, let me get my act together? I don't see that happening. Or a chick who's on bullshit, you know what, you're right. I'm going to reprogram myself. It's just not. And I don't say that in a elitist manner. I'm just coming at you guys from an everyday, functional, what makes sense type of perspective. And there's nothing you could do. We're beyond repairing. That car is just beat up. The transmission is done. Engine is fucked up. Suspension is done. Everything about the car is fucked up. That 88 Buick, it's not going anywhere anymore. That 91 Plymouth, that shit's not moving for you anymore, player. Get yourself a new car. So that's my take. I know I said a lot, but yo, it is what it is. Y'all be good. God bless.